Acharya, Shyam, Ramanuj, the Guruji of the Sri Narayan Dham Ashram, Yajin Bula Soni, Vishvada, Ramanuj, Das, spiritual and community leaders, both physically present and joining us via Facebook, friends and fellow travelers on the journey of faith. What a great privilege, Swami, Your Holiness, to meet you in this ashram. How wonderful to listen to the profound messages that you have rendered to us this morning. I'm deeply grateful for the invitation extended by Acharyaji or leaders of the IF to join you today. Having witnessed the service and listened to the teaching of His Holiness, I feel a connection with this ashram. Of course, I'm not stranger to such services, for I enjoyed a long friendship with Sri Swami Sahajananda of the Divine Life Society, and have often visited temples and ashrams to share the celebrations and special moments with my friends over many decades that I've had the privilege to live on this earth. Many years ago, Dr. Isop Pahad, who was my colleague in the cabinet of President Mandela and also of President Mbeki, called me an Indo-Zulu. For I've been very close to the Indian community for some 70 years. That's a long time. Since I first attended classes at the University of Natal non-European section, which operated from Sastry College in the 1950s, and met Professor Fatima Mia, who was my classmate, and even attended her wedding when she married Ismail Mia. As a Zulu, I was a bit confused because Ismail Mia was Mia and Fatima was a Mia, and Buthelezi can't marry Buthelezi. Since then, I've accumulated so many Indian friends that it would be impossible, Your Holiness, to mention them all. Suffices only to say they have made a tremendous impact on my own life. They have also helped me to see the value of unity across religions. I grew up believing in equality among races, for I was mentored by none other than Dr. Pixley, Guy Saraseme, the founder of the African National Congress. Dr. Seme was my uncle. He was married to King Dinizulu, my grandfather's eldest daughter, Princess Pigisile Harriet, my mother's sister. I was also mentored by Inkosi Albert Luthuli, who served as president of the African National Congress. So, Your Holiness, friends, growing up in this milieu of liberation politics, it seemed clear to me that everyone is created equally and each one of us has equal dignity. That was the principle we sought to manifest within South Africa. Racial discrimination was antithetical to all that I believed in. Thus, it seemed right, Your Holiness, colleagues and friends, and very much natural to me to build bridges between races in this province. And I did that through initiatives that I took, like the Buthelezi Commission, which was chaired by Professor Dennis Schreiner, the Deputy Principal of the University of Natal, as it was then, and the KwaZulu-Natal Indawa, which in fact actually birthed South Africa's first non-racial, non-discriminatory government, the KwaZulu Joint Executive Authority, almost a decade before democracy. In other words, members of my cabinet and the provincial government, in which participated whites, Indians, and coloreds, we joined together to create what was called KwaZulu-Natal, an executive authority. So by the time liberation took place in this province, we as races of this province were actually participating in one government. Unity, Your Holiness, across race groups was something I pursued with vigor, if I may say. Yeah. So it didn't take long to realize that unity among religions was essential, a very essential pursuit as well, if we were to build social cohesion. In my home, Your Holiness, I have more than one copy of the Bhagavad Gita, the Quran, and several copies of the Bible. My Christian faith has been a fundamental part of my life and has influenced every decision and stand that I've taken. I know the impact of faith on a person's destiny and on our willingness to accept our duty. I've thus made every effort to understand the various religious faiths of our people and to find commonalities in the values that they enshrine. And this is why I jumped at the chance to become patron of the Shivananda World Peace and Community Development Foundation at the request of my young friend, Mr. Ishwar Ramanuj. Through the foundation, several peace pillars have been erected in various parts of our country, and I've had the pleasure of unveiling some of them. These peace pillars are inscribed with scriptures and passages of the holy texts of various religions, all of which speak to the commonality of belief in certain fundamental values, common fundamental values that you find right across all religions. One such value is the value of duty, which I understand is the foundational teaching of the Sri Narayan Dham. I will not pretend, Your Holiness, to be an expert on Sanatana Dharma, but I can honestly say that it interests me to learn more, for if there is anything that has shaped the path I've taken in life, it is the need to fulfill what I regard as my duty. I was raised in the Zulu royal family as the son of Princess Makoko, Zulu, and the traditional prime minister to the Zulu monarch and nation. At that time, it was Buthelezi, my father. I was made to understand from a very young age that I was born to serve my king and my nation. I was to assume the hereditary position as Inkosi of the Buthelezi clan. I was also, as a young man, to be appointed traditional prime minister like my father and like my great-grandfather by my first cousin, King Cyprian Beguzulu Nyangazizwe Solomon in 1954. Following the lineage of royalty and advisors of the king's court, I had a strong sense of duty. I know as I served that I was continuing the unbroken line of service that contributed to the well-being of our entire nation. Yeah. When I began serving as chief minister of the KwaZulu government in the 70s, my sense of duty compounded, for I knew that I was responsible not only for liberating our people, but for meeting their pressing needs. It placed a tremendous burden on my shoulders, but I was able, Your Holiness, to carry it because of my faith and my deep sense of duty. Neither would allow me to abandon my duty and my tasks. Now I realize, Acharyaji, that you invited me here today to speak about the IFP and the mission and values of our party. I founded the IFP in 1975 and served as its president for 44 years until August 2019, when I stepped down as president and handed the reins of the party to the Honourable Mr. Velenkosini Hlabisa. Our members asked that I accept the title of President Emeritus and that I should continue to provide my guidance and support to the party, which I try to do, Your Holiness, at 93 years. I've gladly done so because having invested so much of my life into the IFP, it would have been difficult to step down entirely. But I've been cognizant of the fact that there is a new leadership of the IFP, and I've respected our president's position and his role in the party. It has been quite easy, actually, because he has a wonderful vision for the next chapter of the IFP, and is solidly grounded in the IFP's legacy. Thus, I know that the IFP will continue with the same values that I laid down since its inception. The values of inclusivity, the value of unity and equality, the value of non-violence, the value of self-help and self-reliance, governance through partnerships, respect for traditional leaders, and the empowerment of all citizens to become active citizens in building justice in our country. The IFP has pursued these values for 46 years, and this is why we work with Swami, for instance, to build classrooms and provide learning materials for vulnerable children. Through the Divine Life Society, Inkatha was able to empower thousands of young South Africans towards an understanding and embracing of their own duty. Your Holiness, in 1974, I was invited to Addis Ababa, by a certain American colloquium. There was a very strong debate that was taking place at that time. Because after the apartheid regime closed down all our organizations, ANC, PAC, AZAPO, etc., our leader, Inkosi Albert Luthuli, the President General of the ANC, sent Mr. Oliver Tambo abroad to start what was called the ANC Mission in Exile. Now, as there was no activity in South Africa, they dictated policy. Now, as you know, as you remember, Your Holiness, in June 1976, there was that big uprising in Soweto, where our children were resisting being forced to learn through a second language, Afrikaans, and where they're exchanging stones with bullets of the police. Some of them died. I do not know whether the ANC in exile thought they were being bypassed, because then Mr. Tambo said as policy in South Africa, he said that education should stop. He came with the slogan, liberation now, education later, quote unquote. And we responded with education for liberation. And that's why we joined up with Swamiji. There was also a committee, an Indian committee, education committee, in which my friend and sister, Fatima Mia, was a member, which also created a fund. While the Indian people were just as poor, some of them were as poor as our own people, but the Indian community organized funds for African children to be educated. And also, the Lockhart brothers also erected many classrooms, Your Holiness, some of which I opened even here in Inanda and so on, with Inkosi Mzonjani of the Makati and so on. You know, that is why some people, I always pity people who think that I'm just muscling in by coming to the ashram here. I'm just muscling in the Indian community. I've always been part of the Indian community. A certain lady, Asoti Govender, when she was in her late 70s, up to 80, she was cooking for me every Monday when I came to Durban for the NEC meeting of the IFP. She cooked for me until she passed away. For no reward. Even now, her daughter and grandchildren are still doing so, even now. And as you know, Your Holiness, amongst Indians and Africans, there is a high incidence of diabetes. All Africans and Indians have got a lot of diabetes, so I'm a diabetic. But I must confess here, because I've got a man of God in front of me, that I don't eat mostly flour. I don't eat flour, but I can't resist the roti. The greatest duty of all, to my mind, is service. But it cannot be service for reward, or service as a mean to a selfish end. I've taken careful note, Your Holiness, I've taken careful note of the words of the Mahatma Gandhi. And by the way, at this point I must pause and say that I knew Manilal Gandhi in 1946. Because, Your Holiness, with all due respect, as my father in God, I'm sure, were a little beginning compared to me at that time. In 1946,
yes.
there was passive resistance by the Natal Indian Congress and the African National Congress. And Manila Gandhi I remember was arrested for defiance. You know that at that time we couldn't even sit on the seats they were for Europeans only everywhere.
Yes.
And of course the funniest part was that even Indians could not even swim in the Indian Ocean. For a very long time, Your Holiness, I visited the Phoenix settlement. Even after Manila Gandhi died, I was a frequent visitor there. In fact, I had the privilege to deliver one of the Mahatma Gandhi memorial lectures at the settlement. So I'm quoting here the Mahatma, who said, there are 7 things that will destroy us. 7. Wealth without work. Pleasure without conscience. Knowledge without character. Religion without sacrifice. Politics without principle. Science without humanity. And business without ethics and code. What Mahatma said. As I'm engaged in the world of politics, I can attest to the fact that politics without principle renders nothing but evil. As you are thinking after Your Holiness yourself as South African, we have seen the terrible outcome of giving power to those who lack ethical boundaries and moral integrity. Corruption has taken far too much from our people, from our economy, and from our country. What South Africa needs above anything else is a leadership of integrity to intervene and take the reins. That can only be done on the strength of votes. The electorate has a powerful weapon in its hands with which to slay this dragon of corruption. Just 1 week from now, South Africa will be going to the polls to vote in a local government election. These elections decide who will serve you at the level of your municipality. Your Holiness, friends, colleagues, it makes a fundamental difference who leads you at this level, because this is your first and most direct point of contact with government, local government. Through your municipal councillor, your voice is carried into decision making at the highest level. It's at the coal base, actually. It's the most important level of government, local government, because it deals directly with the people on the ground. It is thus crucial that you vote and that you elect councillors who subscribe to the values that you yourself believe in. And not every party is fielding candidates who will honor your trust and earn your support. Not every party is in politics to serve, and their value systems have long been compromised by allowing unethical behavior to go unchecked. Integrity is the strongest asset of the IFP. In our 46-year legacy of service to Africa, we have been untainted by corruption. Your Holiness, even in KwaZulu government, you know, the KwaZulu government, the government created these homeland governments, which as ANC, our movement, were against. But Inkosi Albert Ntuli and Tambo, Oliver Tambo, they sent one of the senior leaders of the ANC to my sister. Inkosi Ntuli was visiting in Gauteng. They said to my sister, although our movement, which was the ANC, was opposed to homelands, but they are pleading with me that if Amakosi and Indunas and district representative elect me, I should go in and lead the Zulu people in this thing, even though we're opposed to it. Because they wanted me to destroy it from within, which mission I accomplished. And by doing so, Your Holiness, I'm not boasting, it's the facts of the matter, that I saved the citizenship of all African people, because we're supposed to be citizens of KwaZulu. Xhosas were supposed to be citizens, which comprises only 13% of the surface of South Africa, 87% occupied by whites mostly. So we have always acted swiftly. During that time, the budget I received was a shoestring budget, because it was punitive, because they knew that I was opposed to it, and they knew that I didn't want it accomplished, and they knew that I came from the ANC. But you'll be surprised, Your Holiness, that in 1994, when the government in Pretoria wanted all the money from all the homelands, what was left in our coffers, I was the only one who delivered any money to all of them. He delivered. Then, in 1994, Your Holiness, Mr. Derris Keys was the first Minister of Finance under the Free South Africa. He came to Ulundi and said, after visiting Ulundi and looking at our finances, he said that we have a lot to teach the national government on how to control the funds of the people, the money of the people, Your Holiness. And as you know, Your Holiness, we, as IFP, young people can't believe it, that we won in 1994. We won this province twice. For 10 years, the province was run by IFE premiers. First one, Frank Mdalose, Dr. Frank. After him, Dr. Ben Gubane. After him, Dr. Mchali. And none of them, there was not even a whiff of corruption. Nothing whatsoever. No any, Your Holiness, of their ministers, MECs. But what we should do today, premiers are accused of corruption, MECs, even in this province, are before courts. The mayor of this big city, Durban, Zandile Kumedia, is before for corruption. You know, it's just unbelievable. Our absolute inflexibility on the issue of integrity has made the IFE completely trustworthy. We have built a relationship of trust with the people we serve. It is, Your Holiness, something that I'm profoundly proud of. Because of this integrity, the IFE has managed to provide good governance and accountable service delivery in every municipality. Those municipalities where we govern have no scandals of corruption. Even now, in fact, two have been given awards by the government, you know, being credited, Nongoma, and also Abatkulusi. We have provided a strong opposition to the ruling party. Remember that one of our leaders, Amakwaza Msibi, who was actually, I regarded as my daughter, and we're all actually hoping that she was going to take over from me. And at one time, Your Holiness, she was actually a candidate for the premiership. We supported her, but she didn't get enough votes. Then the ANC corrupted her. Mr. Zuma I gave chapter and verse in Parliament of how they corrupted him and asked him to destroy what you call to destroy the IFP. And we had a very difficult time because then they colluded together with the ANC to control the municipalities and to control the province. And just look what a mess they've done of that. At present now, then we bypassed rather by the DA, who were opposition party in the legislature. But now we bypassed them.
Yes.
In 2019, we are the opposition now.
Yes.
We're the second largest party in the province. We would like to take forward our work for the people, Your Holiness, and our partnership of trust for the sake of good governance. This is why the IFP is working to earn your vote, and why we ask you to consider strengthening the IFP in the 2021 local government elections. Your Holiness, I was a bit worried when you met me, trained as you are with the IFP. I didn't think that a holy man to wear a political cap, because politics is a very dirty game. So there's no greater opposition to the corruption and unethical governance that is dragging our country towards disaster. The IFP has the experience, we have got the strength, we have got the skill and will to take on the ruling party and beat it. You can do that. It simply takes votes. There's no magic. I invite the people, therefore, Your Holiness, therefore, to vote for the integrity. In doing so, they'll vote for the IFP. Your Holiness, it's really a great privilege for me to be in the ashram. I feel even invigorated. I feel 20 years old, not 90.
Sanbanani no ke Cheng. Ladies and gentlemen, it's indeed a wonderful occasion today. So wonderful that we are in a place of worship, Guruji. Thank you very much for accepting us here today. Also, so wonderful that we can have His Excellency Prince Mangosuthu Buthelezi with us today. I know I did say to you on Wednesday, I don't think it's going to be possible. But as you said, God makes everything possible. So, in saying a vote of thanks today, firstly allow me to thank God for making this occasion possible. I would never have thought that when I was invited to bring about 10 people to address you this morning, that we would end up not only with more than 10 people, but with His Excellency being amongst us. This is a wonderful occasion. And really, I must thank God that it was God Almighty that made it possible. Because we as human beings cannot do what was achieved here today. As His Excellency said, he is not here today because he wants to muscle in on the Indian community. He has been part of our community for decades. And he is here today with a message which you all heard, and I'm sure all of you appreciated the message that he has delivered today. And some of the wisdom, historical knowledge that is so very important that we take back home and into our communities. The historical knowledge that Prince Mangosuthu Buthelezi has and has imparted to us today is something that we must take back and give to our communities, because Many of the people out there don't know this. And every time when he speaks about the history of our country, we listen very carefully, because it is the knowledge that you will not find in textbooks. Textbooks that were written by other people who didn't even experience the history. We have a walking encyclopedia amongst us. And we must cherish that knowledge. And Your Excellency, today as you are in a place of worship, whilst we thank you, we want to say and pray that God will continue to keep you amongst us for years to come. We always say at this point in our history, the greatest gift that God can give to His Excellency is many more years of good health, peace and prosperity. We only wish as IFP that His Excellency could have been 20 years younger. We wish that. And I can tell you, Guruji, if that wish could come true, you will see the next president of the IFP as the president of our country. Because no matter where we go now, people are saying to us, if only Prince Buthelezi was the president of our country, we won't find ourselves in the mess that we are. So in passing the vote of thanks, I've thanked His Excellency. I want to thank Mr. Mbango. I know it was difficult for you to manipulate and make sure that this happens today, Mr. Mbango. Thank you very much. I know you took many phone calls yesterday and even this morning, but you have made it possible. You were here last night, I know, to come and see that everything was in place. We appreciate that. I want to also recognize the presence of our councillor, Councillor Ban Prakash, who is here. Our councillor candidates. Yes, Councillor Njangase also is here. I know, Councillor Njangase, I phoned you on Wednesday and said I'm coming here. And then I had to phone him again last night to say His Excellency is coming here. So we had to change plans, but Councillor Njangase, you are here with many of our colleagues. Thank you very much for that. Could I ask all our councillor candidates, to please rise?
And even come front.
Come to the front.
Come front. Let everyone see you.
All our candidates. Where is Councillor Chandra? Any other candidates that are there? Please come. I see Jonathan is outside. Jonathan Tusong.
Yes.
Councillor Changas. Alright, I think he's outside somewhere, but he'll join us. Ladies and gentlemen, these are our councillor candidates. And on the 2nd of November, Your Excellency,
First.
on the 2nd of November,
Yes.
I want to be saying these are the IFP councillors.
Yes.
Thank you very much for your participation. And also I want to say a very, very big thank you to Guruji and your team. Where's Jessica? Jessica, thank you very much to you also for making sure that all of this comes together. Thank you very much to all the devotees for accepting us here today. It was really a wonderful, inspirational experience for all of us. And we pray that the ashram will grow from strength to strength. Thank you very much. Honourable President of the Inkatha Freedom Party, Bulawayo. Thank you for making the time, sir. We really appreciate it. I know your busy schedule, And when we contacted you last night, you readily made yourself available today, and I know you've got another engagement at 3 o'clock. Councillor Shangas, thank you very much for being here. Ishila, our candidate in this upcoming local government elections. Sadbonani Nonka, comrades. Thank you all for being here. I greet the officials from the Sri Narayan Dham. We appreciate you all accepting us here again today. Yesterday was a wonderful event that we had with His Excellency, and the type of vibe that we found here really went back home with us, Guruji. And just to say something about our president. Our president has grown up with the values of the IFP. Our President Emeritus has passed on these values to our present president, and he has imbibed those values. So I want to assure the colleagues that are here and assure you, Guruji, that the values that His Excellency has got has been passed on to our president, and he is carrying those values and taking our party forward. And the President Emeritus himself, when he speaks publicly, he will say that his president, referring to Bulawayo, his president has got a vision and is taking our party forward. Now that is all the endorsement that we need as members of the IFP, if it is coming from him. And when we had a change from His Excellency to the new president, it was a seamless change. We went to a conference, and the conference elected the Honourable V.F. Hlabisa to be the president of the party. Unlike so many other parties, when you hear that there's going to be a change of leadership, you hear there's a whole lot of problems, people are fighting each other and so on. But that didn't happen in the IFP because we come from a disciplined party. Our membership is very disciplined all the time. The Honourable Hlabisa, as you might know, is the leader of the official opposition in KwaZulu-Natal. I serve under him in the legislature, and I can tell you that he holds the ANC to account at every turn. Every time that they step out of line, he is raising the issues with them, and he is keeping them in check. But it is not an easy task. If you know the kind of corruption that is involved in the ANC, but our president is doing his best. He has a very good track record. He's a former school principal, he's an academic, he's politically astute, and he understands the politics of our country. And therefore we feel very confident to serve under a president like this. And he has the full support of the membership of the IFP, no matter where he goes. And I can tell you the past few weeks or months, he's been on the road all the time. And whenever I call him and speak to him, I ask him how's the energy levels. Are you feeling okay? Because I don't know how he copes. But I suppose he's taking strength from His Excellency, because even His Excellency is on the road all the time. And having meetings, engaging with people, and it is not easy when you're addressing a whole lot of people all the time on the issues of politics, on the issues of the day-to-day lives. It is not easy to engage people. But with the kind of values that we have in the party, as you rightly said, we don't promise things that we cannot deliver. And therefore, wherever we go, we can hold our heads up high, because as an IFP, we don't make false promises. And having said that, I would like to ask you, Bulawayo, the Honourable V.F. Hlabisa, the President of the IFP, to please come and address us.
Just move that speaker a little bit this way. Yeah, for the light.
You can sit down. Let me firstly greet the head of this spiritual home, and welcome the opportunity to stand before you, and also in this platform, which is joined by thousands of people within the country, is the indication, because coming Durban for another engagement, and I said I will try to ensure that I make an opportunity to come and greet you, no matter how short time can be. We will also make time even after the local government elections. We know some of our leaders become available before elections when they want people to vote for their party, and after elections they become hard to be obtained or to become available. That is why I'm committing that even after the elections, one will make time to come and visit this spiritual home, because from what I have heard from the head of this spiritual home is a vast knowledge in terms of what he as an individual and as a leader of this spiritual home expect from our country. The IFP shares similar values with you as a head of this spiritual home, the values of oneness. We believe that we are all one human race, irrespective of our color, irrespective of our location, but we are all one human race. That is why it is not difficult to come and share a platform with you as a head of this spiritual home, as well as this spiritual home. Our record and our track record has been there for the past 46 years, because we are not a newcomer in the politics of South Africa. We were not only established after 1994, but we date back to 1975. And I agree with you, a mistake was committed in 1994 when the church or the religious leaders pulled out and let politics alone to run the show. And unfortunately, in the ruling party, they even take God throughout the window. And we are like a ship in the middle of the ocean with no compass and going nowhere. Because the only way the ship in the middle of the ocean can know where it is going, it will be through having the compass. Our country is suffering from numerous problems: unemployment, famine, poverty, crime, homelessness, chaos. You can mention until sunset the challenges experienced by our people in South Africa. Unfortunately, we are not a poor country. South Africa is a rich country because it is able to mobilize millions of money even in a short space of time. We saw it during the advent or the arrival of COVID-19. 500 billion rand was mobilized to fight COVID-19. And we all concluded that if the ruling party in South Africa was committed to deal with unemployment, deal with homelessness, provide electricity to our people, give clean water to our people, give good roads to our people, and provide good social services to our people. Our government could have long done that because it was able to mobilize 500 billion rand in 2020. And whatever money is available in our country, unfortunately, the revelations in the Zondo Commission has shown us that corruption is so deep in our country, and it has robbed our people an amazing progress as a nation. When one say our party is, the ruling party is corrupt, is not speaking ill of the ruling party, but is telling the truth, which can be confessed by the records of every testimony that has been done through the Zondo Commission. The unfortunate part, the ruling part is the same at all levels, whether at a local level or provincial level or national level. Corruption is deep-rooted. The classical example, the former mayor of eThekwini, Zandile Kumete, where we are. Even if you go to the provincial level in KwaZulu-Natal, if any investigation is conducted on an issue of alleged corruption, the findings become damning. In every department, there is no investigation that came out and said it was just a mere allegation, people involved are clean. None of them. Every investigation on allegation, it come out with damning report of deep-rooted corruption in the provincial legislature of KwaZulu-Natal. Even if you go to the National Assembly, most of us across political lines, we were saying Dr. Zweli Mkhize is doing a good service for our country. What transpired thereafter? The digital vibes was a damning report. And you know now, whoever appears better or good, the only thing remaining is that we have not known about that particular person. The president of our country has gone to court to refuse with the bank statements. The question will be very clear. If your bank statement is clean, why are you refusing with the bank statement if it is clean? The only conclusion is that using the court of law to refuse with the bank statement as statement person number one in the country is because you know. Once your statement are known by the people of South Africa, a damning picture will be seen by the people of South Africa. As we go to the local government elections, we give the people of South Africa our values: integrity, honesty, and being truthful all the times. As you rightly said, we do not promise what we cannot be able to deliver. No matter how much we want people to vote the IFP, but we are very careful because we know when you promise something, time will come that you must come and account of what you promise. It is a known factor today. The ruling party is going all around saying we are apologizing give us more time. We are not prepared to do that. Even the councillors that we are offering to people to vote for the IFP, looking at those candidates as our face, we are going to be very hard on our councillors this time around, because we do not want to apologize. Anyone who is lazy, we will show him or her the door, because we do not want to come and apologize after 5 years and then ask for another opportunity when people have given us an opportunity on the basis of our values. That is why whenever we get a platform, we promise what we can be able to deliver if we are given an opportunity to govern. We know it is the competency of the local government sphere to give electricity to our people, water to our people, roads to our people, houses to our people, create job opportunities for our people, ensure that we support the local economic development so that people can be able to contribute in building the economy of the local municipalities and thereby our province and as a country. We only promise what we know is the competency of the local government sphere. But of course, we know the 2021 local government election is a building block for the 2024 provincial and national government elections. Truth be told, it is only the IFP that will set South Africa free from all the challenges it is experiencing, simply because it is the IFP that knows the 3 spheres of government. Because the 3 spheres of government that we have in our country, it was the idea of the IFP at CODESA. The ruling party had an idea of a unitary state. The government that will be far from people, that will only be at a national level. And the IFP advanced an argument that we need a federal state of government where we have 3 spheres of government, the most closest, which is the local government sphere, and the middle, the provincial and the national one. And the ruling party accepted the argument from the IFP. We are still pushing in our argument that more money must be revolved down to the local sphere of government where people are. And more powers must be revolved down to the local sphere of government where people are. The issue of safety and security, the issue of health must be revolved down to the local sphere where people know the hotspots of crime, where people know the areas where sick illnesses are more prevalent in their communities. Once we reach that stage, we will be able to give true service to our people. But we are confident that in a very near future, the IFP will be in charge of our country, South Africa. Once we get in charge of our country, we will surely revolve more powers down to the local sphere of government and drive more money to come down to the local sphere of government, and also ensure, as members of parliament are full-time at a national level and a provincial level, similar must happen to councillors. Because if councillors are part-time, they only make or pay lip service to being counselors because it's a part-time job. But once you make them full-time, they know they are responsible on a full-time basis to ensure service delivery. You rather even cut down the number if you say the number is too big. Cut down the number, but make them full-time. They know we get into work in the morning up to the afternoon. We do not double park or double service different institutions and say I'm a counselor this time, this side, but I'm also employed somewhere. Because at the end of the day, one will suffer if a person is not committed on one thing. We know the people of South Africa little, and we are praying that this be done at a faster pace, that the people of South Africa realize that the real choice and the real political party that will give full freedom over the right to vote, because we agree we all have an equal right to cast our vote, irrespective of our color. But other than the right to vote, there is a wide gap between the poor and the rich. Poverty, inequality, and unemployment are major things that must be resolved so that our people are at an equal level to contribute in the development of our country. In those words, I appreciate the opportunity to stand before you as the head of this spiritual home, as well as to your members of this spiritual home. And as you said rightly, you are apolitical. We understand and appreciate the stance you take as a spiritual home of not being political, but we are so happy that you embrace our values, and we will keep on raising these values which you as a spiritual home see is what South Africa deserves. And we know through your prayers, as you rightly say, the religious leaders should come closer and pray for our country, that God intervenes and make the right political party with the right values, which are the values of the IFP. If you look in the political landscape of our country, that the values that you agree to embrace while you are apolitical, that you pray for these values, they become embraced by the majority of South Africa, and that even those who are not active, they become active and embrace these values of the IFP and cast their vote for the IFP and set our country free. I want to thank, I'm aware, the role that you play in supporting our people who are having hard in terms of meeting their daily needs. May God give you more power and energy and multiply your resources and ensure that you help our people who are struggling due to unemployment, poverty, and famine. What you are doing the work of God, and surely God will make this spiritual home grow within our country, also with the influence throughout the world, because you are doing what shall be done by everyone in promoting one human race, which is the race of God. Thank you very much.